Little Frida. When I was 6, I fell ill with polio and I had to stay in bed for 9 months. It was extremely painful, and when I eventually got better, I could only walk slowly with a limp. Other children laughed and made fun of me, calling me pig leg whenever I walked past. I tried to hide my thin right leg with 3 layers of socks, but it didn't fool anybody. I was different, and being different made me an outsider. My father was a photographer, and sometimes he let me help him in his studio. I coloured up many of his black and white photographs. Although it was boring work, I loved being together with him. Most days, though, in spite of having 3 sisters, I played on my own. I was lonely, but I quite liked being separate. When I slept, I dreamed of flying. I longed to really fly. I thought about it all the time, and for my 7th birthday, I asked my parents for a toy plane. For days I could think of nothing else but flying right around the world. But when the day finally came, these wings were all I got. I didn't want to show my disappointment, so I kept the stupid wings on and ran to my room. As I breathed on the window, it slowly became misty with condensation. I idly drew a shape on the glass with my finger. Then I added a handle, and suddenly it was a door. I opened the door and stepped through it. I was free. I could run. I ran and ran and ran until I was completely exhausted. I was hot and very thirsty, and there in front of me was a dairy. I walked all around the building looking for a way in, but I couldn't see one. Just when I was about to give up and go home, I noticed a little door. I crawled inside. And then I seemed to be falling slowly down into the depths of the earth. At the bottom, a girl was waiting for me. She didn't say anything, not even hello, but in a strange way, I felt as if I'd known her all my life. I smiled at her, and she smiled too. The girl silently started to dance. She was a beautiful dancer, and while she gracefully danced around the room, I talked to her. I told her all the secret things I worried about. There were many, and she listened to every word I said. The girl was a stranger, but she felt so familiar. We sat and laughed together. I laughed very loudly, and she laughed without making a sound. We quickly became the closest friends. I'd never had a friend before. It was a wonderful feeling. After a while, I knew I had to go. We waved goodbye, and I flew back home, away from the dairy, across the plains and through the door drawn on the window. I rubbed out the door and ran to the furthest corner of the garden. I sat there and thought about my journey and my new friend. I was alone again, but now I was very happy. I knew that I could go back and see her whenever I wanted. She would be there waiting for me. From that day, I began to paint the girl over and over again. I've visited her many times since that day, and in a way, I've been painting her ever since.